What about this one? Is this
That
one?
one's all
This
right.
one?
This one that's behind. Hello, everybody.
What do we got in here? Jeffrey Boy.
All right, here we go. I warned you last week that we were going to have a guest, Christopher. You're like Chris or Christopher?
I think Chris is fine.
Okay,
Chris is easier
Chris.
for everybody.
And used to be my student. Why don't you tell everybody just like your schooling, where you're at now? Because the reason I invited you to do this is because one of the most important things that I teach is that, I don't know if I was calling it this back then, the accumulative approach.
Yes. Yeah, you were.
And when that becomes most important is when time is an issue, right? And so, and also the whole accumulative thing is mental.
100%.
The whole point is that you have to actually believe that taking time off didn't hurt your playing. You know what I mean? So anyway, tell them where you're at in school, and then go transition from there into what you're doing with the music now.
Yeah, we can do kind of a reverse chronological order. Yeah, I think that works, because I think that does explain the cumulative practice as well. So my name's Chris. Right now I'm in medical school, so I'm in my second year, and I'm about to be going into my third year, so I'm about to get tossed into the hospital and do all these rotations. Nice to meet you guys. And yeah, I think so. Mr. Lewis had given me kind of a rundown of the accumulative practice concept towards the end of high school, when I had mentioned to you that I wasn't going to be pursuing music in college. Now, like, let this be known, all up until that point, I was telling you I want to audition for music schools, I want to go to conservatory, all of this stuff. I was dead set on trying to go to music school, but a couple things in life happened, and I wasn't able to go down that route, which I think was a blessing in disguise.
Yes.
Actually 100%. And so, to be honest, when Mr. Lewis was giving me the rundown of accumulative practice, I was not buying it at all either. As a high school student who would practice 3 to 4 hours a day without fail, I was like, there's no way. But I recently picked up the horn again, and mind you, medical school is not, it's pretty time consuming. You're looking at 10 hours a day of studying on top of classes and whatnot. So getting in even 15 minutes or 30 minutes of practice is a miracle in itself. So there's weeks where or there's months where I won't even practice. And then the most I can practice in a month is maybe 10 minutes after a test, or maybe 30 minutes. I'll give myself that. But other things in life come in too. And you know, you have your priorities like family, friends, loved ones to tend to. And
that's something we talked about a lot
during our lessons,
was what we call the priorities.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just the hierarchy that you choose to take in your life. Personally, I'm a Christian, so I put God first, and right below that is family. And so if I have to tend to those things, I'm not gonna. Music is in the back burner, but I actually think it's helped me in my growth and playing. I'll talk about the physical stuff in trumpet first, though, because the accumulative practice. I know Mr. Lewis has a couple videos on YouTube. I'm not sure how many you've made about accumulative practice.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, you definitely mention it a lot. There's a couple dedicated ones. But at the time, I was like, there's no way that my chops are going to keep up. No way I'm going to be able to crank out high C's or F's if I don't keep up with it every single day. And you know, just 2 days ago, I was playing, and I cranked out a new high note. Like I cranked out an F sharp above the staff.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So, and mind you, I practiced maybe once every week or so. And before that, I didn't practice for 5 years. So how that happens, it kind of is proof to the idea that trumpet practice is not some type of, you don't have to
be. It's not athletic.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't have to maintain fitness per se, and train diligently and be a slave to the trumpet at all. I think a lot of the stuff that has to do with that too is the fact that trumpet is really much more of like a muscular coordination, in a sense that if you remember the coordination of how you want to achieve this sound or this register or this speed, it's just something that your brain has to work on.
And that's just feel.
Yeah.
Right? There's no way to mathematically measure what you're doing.
Exactly.
Right?
So that plays into the measurement would be like if trumpet was a athletic procedure, then technically if I had stronger anatomy and musculature here, if I made that stronger, then it would make trumpet player easier. It doesn't. That's not how it works.
No.
It's not how it works at all. And this kind of goes back to Mr. Lewis's idea of in his physical trumpet pyramid, where you kind of undulate the days of playing that's a bit, I don't know, what would you say, rougher on the chops versus lighter days. Yeah, light, medium, heavy days. That goes back to I also lift weights as a hobby, and there's a difference between muscle size and muscle strength. There's a lot of people out there who are really strong, but you look at them and you don't think they would be able to move. I don't like move furniture, like move a table out of a dining room. And then you got guys who are really big and muscular, 250 pounds, and they can't do the same thing.
That's right.
Because it's the difference between coordination versus like athletic, I don't know, size and whatnot. Right. Yeah. So that doesn't play into trumpet playing at all.
I think the word that they used to use, I haven't heard anyone use this word in a long time, is dexterity.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? It's like the physical combined with the control.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah. The control is the biggest part, and that actually improves even if you're away from the horn.
That's right.
So that's where I'm at with the trumpet practicing and music and all of that is I'm finding that all of the practice and years that I've spent in high school, playing 4 hours a day, going to band class and marching band and having lessons with Mr. Lewis, that's not gone to waste. I'm not practicing as often as I am, but I haven't took a step back at all, actually. If anything, I've moved forward even more, just gaining life experience.
I've told them about that email that you sent. With you playing Misty.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the best I ever heard you play. And that's after you started going to college.
I think that was a 3-year break, actually. I hadn't touched the horn up until that point.
Yeah. And see, there's something that happens when we're too gung-ho, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's very similar. There's a story they tell in Africa because they have problems with the monkeys, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what they do is they make monkey traps where they have a long string and they tie the bottles to the string. The neck of the bottle is just big enough for the monkey to get the hand in. But they grab the fruit and they won't let go of the fruit.
I've heard this.
You've heard that?
Yes.
Yes. They won't let go of the fruit, and it's their own ambition that gets them caught. You know, and I like to think the way with trumpet is when you can't let go. And, you know, I've stopped calling them, and this is only recently, I stopped calling people that live like that trumpet worshipers. And the only reason I stopped calling them that is because I was kidding around before. It's like a big joke. Trumpet worshipers, right? It's not a joke to them.
Some people believe it.
The way they live their lives, that's why they get so bent out of shape when I talk like that, is because for them, that's actually the real reality of life, is that they put trumpet ahead of everything in their lives. We know when it's a trumpet worshiper. Well, I said I wasn't going to use that term anymore. We know that they put music ahead of their lives and everything in their lives. Like the first time I ever heard about this was a guy that took his trumpet on his honeymoon.
Oh my gosh. Oh my God. That's crazy. That's insane.
Took his trumpet on his honeymoon. He would not skip a day.
No.
And would not just take it easy on his honeymoon and devote that time to his wife.
No,
right? That's messed up.
Yeah.
Right?
Complete misalignment of priorities.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so, and also examples that I've come up with over the years is like people who have to practice the day their son is born. Right? I mean, what is that?
I don't know.
And people who have to practice even when they are on death's bed.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there's so many things that come before music. And here's the problem, is that those things that you're putting music ahead of are the things that fuel the music when you're playing.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this old, remember Sesame Street?
Yes.
It was either Sesame Street or
the
electric company or whatever they called it.
Yes.
There was a cartoon where this guy was fishing, and he would pull out a weed and chunk it, and pull out another weed and chunk it, and after a while, no more fish because the fish eat the weeds. Right? So that's a very important cartoon for us to call into remembrance, because the very thing that you're trying to trash is the thing that's fueling what you're trying to get. Right? And with the priorities, you can't have real music. I'm actually trying to write a book about the priorities. I'm calling it True Art. Because wholesome priorities is not a good sale.
Nobody's
people aren't going to buy it. So I call it True Art. And the reason I'm using that as the title is because that's where you get your true expression, is when you have a story to tell. If you don't have a story to tell, what are you really saying?
Exactly.
I'm a good trumpet player. Woohoo! Right? Yeah. That's what you're trying to tell everybody. That's not a thing.
But nobody cares about that. Nobody cares how good you are at trumpet. Right. If that were the case, then we wouldn't hold like Miles Davis to the high, like this esteem that he's at. We'd take the next most whatchamacallit,
virtuosity.
Yeah. But people love listening to Miles Davis. Yes. He wasn't a perfect human, but he lived a lot of life.
That's right.
I think people who get trapped in kind of I don't want to use like married to the instrument or trumpet worship or whatever the term we're using for that. I think another part of that is that they're not hearing the music the way that the musician is trying to express, or the artist is trying to express. Right. Artistry is using a medium to communicate about life and humanism. And if you're taking that as, oh, this person can slur, double octaves or whatnot, or and that's because he's practiced diligently, and you're trying to achieve that, you're chasing the wrong you're chasing the wrong goal. Honestly, you're chasing the wrong goal. I can attest to that because back in high school I was doing the same thing. I was worshiping my horn and practicing it like I was going to die without it. And actually the opposite happened. There's a lot of things that go into it. Listening to different music and appreciating artistry in different forms makes you realize that achieving trumpet mastery is not the end. It's a means to another end, which is expressing yourself.
That's right.
Also, the whole idea of getting married to practice doesn't make sense. I'll give like a medical analogy. Like you take a surgeon. Surgeons don't operate 7 days a week. If they did, they would kill patients. They would kill patients. You would kill your patient because you're just getting overworked. Sometimes they need to take vacations, and that's why they use up their 4 weeks and they just disappear on an island and then they come back. That's why they only operate on maybe like Tuesdays and Fridays. Does that make their skill any less because they're not practicing? No, not at all. Surgeons who have a very tumultuous life at home with divorce and substance abuse, they are not providing the best service for their patients.
That's right.
And surgery is a skill, just as trumpet playing is.
That's right.
But that's where the minutes does not always equate to the success in the medium that you're trying to express yourself in or perform in. Whether it's surgery, trumpet playing, anything, to be honest.
Right.
Yeah. I think also going from high school and then growing up, I've like it's just random times where Mr. Lewis's lessons will kind of where actually make sense. They'll reappear, I'll be transported back into this room, basically sitting with a stand, and Mr. Lewis told me something that high school me didn't understand, and then I realized, oh, that's what he meant. Like for that Misty playing, or that ballad that I was playing, or the fact that music is about expression. I think once you live more life, then you get to appreciate that. And
Yeah,
there's some people
yeah.
who get to 40s, 50s, and they're afraid of living,
That's right.
getting hurt,
That's right.
experiencing love and grief, and that's why they attach themselves to more abstract things that are kind of siloed in their own
Mm.
journey. Achieving trumpet mastery is much easier of a thing in life than having to go through grief and loss.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's no roadmap. You can the when you live the way that we've been talking about, there's so you can never have a teacher that tells you, um, do this, do this, do this, do that, and that's how you're going to get to your success. When you do it the way we're talking about, there's no roadmap.
Yeah.
You have a compass, right? You have let's call it a moral compass, or a spiritual one, depending on which way you look at that. But there's your route to success is going to be different from everybody else's.
Mm-hmm.
There's no cookie cutter plan.
People are scared of that. They want a black and white, yes or no binary. If I did this, and that I'm heading towards success, and if not, then I'm not.
That's right.
Sometimes the decisions you make in the moment, you think you're making the right decision, but it was the wrong one all along.
That's right.
And you don't know until 5 years later.
That's right.
Yeah. So
now we talked about both the accumulative stuff and the priorities. Do you see now how those two are so connected?
Yeah, of course. Now
you can't have one without the other.
You cannot. Because the accumulative practice is the way that you demonstrate your 5 priorities in life.
That's right.
And the third part of it, which everybody cares about if you're listening to this stream, is the music. Right. And how does that make me a better trumpet player, a better musician? Well, the accumulative practice allows you to demonstrate those 5 priorities in your life to make you a better human being. And the better human being you are, or like the more closer you are to whatever moral compass or spiritual compass you follow in life, that enhances your trumpet playing. It enhances your music. It helps you think clearer. It helps you, if you need to analyze your playing and see where you're going wrong, it helps you have a clearer mind towards that, because it's not riddled with chaos of not attending to life's responsibilities. If I'm having an issue with my significant other, if I'm having, my relationship with my parents is not good, that's laying dormant in my mind and affecting the way I approach the horn. Even from the moment I pick it up, it's riddled with, guilt, anxiety, whatever negative emotions come with it. Maybe I didn't tell my brother, I didn't support my brother in like a project that he was working on, because my brother's in college right now, or we're having a bad time in a relationship. I'm thinking about that when I pick up the horn and I play a note. You might not be able to hear it, but if you know about life, and you can hear that come out of your horn. Someone who's lived life can hear when you have anxiety in your horn, if you have guilt or you have sadness or whatnot. It just exudes itself. Right. Yeah.
And taking it to the next level, when you get that result, now you can take that story, and it doesn't have to actually be an actual story, but that can flow through you into the music, right? So the actual music that comes out of your horn, once you get those things resolved, can be very, very beautiful. I like to think, people are constantly saying that how, and I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm using this as an example. People are always talking about just on the, so I record all those hymns, right? They say that those hymns are so beautiful sounding. what they are hearing is what we're talking about.
Mhm.
Well, that's what they're hearing is the now. So with me right now, I practice less now than I ever have in my whole career, and the reason is when when I had to go on dialysis, there was no other choice but to put dialysis during my practice time. So I actually get to practice 2 days a week.
Wow.
Two
But you
days
can't
a
put
week.
trumpet before dialysis. Otherwise your kidneys will get
So now I do try to get like little my teacher in college used to call them targets of opportunity, right?
Mm.
So if a student's late, I can grab the horn and play something.
Oh, of course, of
Um,
course. Yeah.
and by the way, that's when you have the accumulative approach. Um, that little 5 minutes that you took counts towards your progress.
Oh, it all honestly might multiply the effect of it because
Sure.
I was kind of exaggerating when I say there's weeks where I won't go with playing. I'll still play maybe 2 minutes. I have my horn on my stand
Uh-huh.
and I'll play through something I'm transcribing. Like I'm working on Clifford Brown on Joy Spring right now, and it's just literally maybe like 4 beats, and I'll give it 5 minutes. But then the next day I sleep on it and it just comes out even better. And I don't even
That's
have to
right.
think about it. And
That's right.
those little opportunities, you have a lot more of those than you think in a
Yeah,
day.
that's
Little,
right.
I guess a term for my generation is like micro doses of music.
Uh-huh.
But it's that kind of little that window of 5 minutes. You don't even have time to think to get in your head and think about, oh, let me contort my lips to get this note out and blah 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 and get in your own way. And then
Right.
all of a sudden you're just thinking, let me just get my 5 minutes in, let me play this line from Clifford that I really like. And that does more for your playing than if I were to sit there and do that for 50
Yeah.
minutes. I'd actually make worse progress. And I've had this happen a couple of times the past couple of months where I'll go back into my old habits of playing more, thinking more is better, right?
Uh-huh.
And then the line that I'm trying to work on, I end up having to workshop it for the next like month because I
Right.
just made some steps back because I tried to hammer it down instead of just accumulate those little
Right.
moments of practice, little five
Yeah.
minutes here, 5 minutes there. Yeah.
So, when a student tells me they're going off to college, a lot of times people don't quit. They just ghost you, right? They
Mm-hmm.
just disappear. And I don't like that.
I think it's disingenuous to a relationship that you built too.
Well, there's
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But, to me, I don't, first of all, I don't give guilt trips when somebody's quitting. I don't do that.
No, no, you don't.
Okay.
No.
Um, and when you look at how long I've been teaching and how many students I have now and how many students I've taught in the past, I've had literally hundreds of students quit. I'm used to it. You're not going to bother me by quitting.
Mm.
But if you tell me you're about to have this, like, oh, I'm going to have 3 more lessons, we will spend the last 3 lessons talking about no, I'm talking about right now the ones that go to college or get a job or whatever, and now they can't play as much as they. We will spend the last few lessons, and you even said
That's exactly what we did. We did 3 lessons.
that's how I do it.
Yeah.
That's how I do it, right? So we'll talk about how to, because what I think this does, there's a whole industry out there for comeback players.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I see it all through my Instagram social media feed.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you do what we're talking about now, you're never going to be a comeback player. You're still in the game.
It's like you never left, honestly.
Yeah, you're still in the game. And that's always going to be better if you. Now, I'm also one of these guys that doesn't actually, because I'm not a worshiper, right? I don't think that because you once played trumpet, therefore you always shall play a trumpet. I don't believe that.
Mm-mm.
I think you should play for as long as you want to play.
Mhm.
And when that goes away, you have no obligation, right? I actually really believe that, and that belief is connected to the priorities and you know. Anyway, so my point is though that there's no such thing as a comeback player for you, for as long as you said 3 years
3 years
without any real practice.
but if you accumulate it actually, because I've never really came back to the trumpet. I don't believe in that. I never really spent a dedicated period of time. It's probably been about 6 years, however long since we had that conversation in the 3 lessons that we did. I have not had a dedicated moment of trumpet practice, because if you love playing the trumpet, or if you love music, you can do it your whole life. So there's no this if you take a broader perspective on all this, it's not like you're taking any breaks or whatever. It's just you have periods of time where you get more time to play, and periods of time where you have
That's
less.
right. That's right.
But it's all on a continuum.
That's right.
It's actually, and I think in those 3 lessons that I have with Mr. Lewis, um, we were talking about the fact that sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Yeah, we were talking about the fact that you never really step away from the horn, because um, like all those hours that have accumulated from before, they're still
There's
in
that.
your hands.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So now that I'm playing right now, it doesn't seem like I took 6 years off, because that's
Right.
not the mentality that we have.
That's
That's
right.
where I'm trying to get to.
That's right.
I think just that switch alone, those 3 lessons, there wasn't really any procedure that you wrote down for me. It's not like
No.
you will, when you come back to the trumpet, you will, one, start with an airstream. Two, I just follow that because that's how Mr. Lewis taught me how to play the trumpet, and the order of that matters in your pedagogy of trumpet. But yeah, he didn't give me some steps or rules to coming back to the horn. I think we took a lesson back in 23 after those
Uh-huh.
3 years, and I just came back and I was like, hey, I don't do any of the physical trumpet stuff. I just play a nursery rhyme
That's
that my
right.
nephew wants to hear.
So keep in mind that the physical trumpet pyramid stuff is just not just for physical growth, but physical growth when you're in a hurry. Right? It's meant for, like, let's say someone says, I want to do this pro. Well, there's certain expectations for a pro, and so the I call it one range now. The physical trumpet pyramid, one range.
Okay.
The daily routines, all that stuff. That's meant to get you there faster.
And that's what we did in high school.
That's
when I
right.
was taking my
That's
lessons in
right.
high school, because I needed to get a certain range for all region or all
That's
state
right.
or
That
whatnot.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right. And so when we talk about this, so I don't believe it. In fact, I've kind of gotten away from making all my students do that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
A little bit.
Okay.
Because if they're not having any problems and there's no hurry, it's actually better to let it just happen.
Mm-hmm.
It really is.
Mm-hmm.
And now, when something does come up, we'll switch gears. But right now, I think only about half of my students actually do the routine stuff.
And that goes back to your priorities too, because one of your priorities might not be in the top 5, but if you are in a band, or if you're playing for a group, or if you're playing for your high school marching band, one of your responsibilities above your individual journey in music is to play for the band. That's one thing that Mr. Lewis expressed to me, is you want to be a good member of. There's a saying right now that's kind of popular: is if you want to have a village, you want to have a community, you have to be a villager. You have to be part of that community, and that's your responsibility as like a member of your high school band or your community band, is to be able to play your part, separate from the music. And I think maybe that's where your one range approach or daily routines would come in.
Yeah, exactly.
But
exactly. But I think sometimes, because outside of my method, a lot of other people's methods are based on, this is the ball and chain you have to carry. This is this is your cross, so to speak, that you have to carry in order to deserve to be any good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. There's a lot of memes out there on social media about that. Yeah. That reminds me of what I was going to say is I've actually, there's times where I think anybody's teaching is reinforced if there's some doubt or kind of push back to it. So there's some times where I'm not gonna lie that like I kind of doubted. I was like, maybe Mr. Lewis's accumulative practice is not for me. Maybe I need to go check out these. Maybe I need to subscribe to this person's email newsletter, and then see what they're talking about. And they send out a routine. It's like, you know, your typical. Yeah, all of these are the same too. Anybody who it's all the same. They'll pull out of a different slur book, whether it's Schlossberg or Bylin or you know, or whatnot. They'll all be doing the same stuff. It's like a lit buzz. You know, you might do some long tones, maybe a couple lip bends if they're fancy, slurs, tonguing. It's all the same thing. And they're like, just do this for 12 weeks. And then subscribe to my monthly practice group practice session, and then you'll get your chops back in no time. Whenever I do those routines, I end up playing worse. I try so hard because I'm trying so hard to do the routine. It's like I'm making trumpet um like a thing of trying hard, but you don't have to try for the trumpet. You shouldn't be trying.
That's right.
If you make the trumpet more effortful, the music sounds effortful.
That's right.
Yeah. And so then I'll get away from that, and then there's sometimes I don't even play a routine, and then that's when my playing is the most responsive, most free blowing. My tongue's there. I'm nailing the articulation of that one lick that Clifford Brown is playing, stuff like that. But if I was 30 minutes prior playing Goldman tonguing exercises and trying to place my tongue how those people were telling me comeback players should focus on, like hit the back of your teeth. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work. Versus me just thinking about the sound that I want to achieve and getting that feel, that Clifford Brown kind of dry, like drummy feel.
Yeah.
You know, the feeling of music, absorbing the essence of like how a musician played, and then or thinking of how you want to play, and that comes out way easier when you don't have all that stuff.
Wonderful. Yeah. Let's talk to some people here. So hello, Jeffrey. Hello, David. Larry, nice to see you. Karen, nice to see you. Seppos, nice to see you. And David asks, he says, I have played since 9 years old, quit at 40, and picked it up again at 71. Eddie's method means I'm playing better now than ever. That's great. Wonderful. Anybody have any questions for Chris?
And I think maybe some questions that would work well in this situation is, you know, asking about how it's like being one of Mr. Lewis's students. I can attest to that. Studied with him for 2 to 3 years. We're still talking now. So
yeah.
I know some viewers don't have the opportunity to take lessons with you. So
yeah,
I can provide insight on that. I can answer about what I'm learning right now. Yeah.
Okay. What are you doing now?
Well, yeah, I'm currently working on. I've always liked jazz more than the classical stuff. I played both back in high school, but I'm currently learning some Charlie Parker and some Clifford Brown. So just working on transcriptions, and then improv was a huge point of our practice, and that actually improved too with the accumulative practice. Nice to meet you, Jeffrey. Yeah, that actually improved with the accumulative practice because I wasn't practicing any improv, but my ideas were getting better.
Right.
Because my ear would catch on to different things that spoke to me.
Right.
I don't know how else to explain it. It's just
yeah.
Versus trying to play a lick from the Omnibook.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is a great question, David. So I sent an email to Mr. Lewis. I think it was prior to the start of medical school when I told you about my brother. I have a brother who's younger than me. I'm currently 25 and my brother's 21. And when he was 17, he had a stroke. And Mr. Lewis and I had many lessons that were just focused on trying to get the next highest note and whatnot, because that's what I wanted. And so Mr. Lewis is really responsive in that. But he always told me, like, you know, that's not the right way to approach the trumpet. And we also talked a lot about like priorities in life. And I think realizing like the importance of that helped me determine to go to medical school in the first place. I actually didn't even want to do medicine. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah,
I wanted to, in high school, when I was a high school senior at 18, I wanted to be a trumpet player. I wanted to be a musician. So the reason why I'm going to medical school in the first place is honestly because Mr. Lewis taught me the importance of priorities in life. And listening to whatever moral compass or spiritual compass guides you towards your, what profession you should be doing, how you can best serve others. And for me, that's medical school. I actually had a time where I took some time away from medical school. So I took a semester away from medical school, but I think Mr. Lewis's lessons about, is it okay if I bring up religion
Of
for a second?
course.
Yeah.
Of course.
So yeah, I've had I haven't always like been super faithful and gone to church and whatnot, but I think one of the things that Mr. Lewis talked about was when you hear Christ speak to you. And
Sure.
at that moment, when my brother had his stroke, I heard Christ speak to me, and it wasn't a "you should go to medical school." Like that's not how it works. It's just thoughts that you have that are not your original thoughts. Because if you follow Christ and you walk on His path, then you realize that you're just trying to live in a light, in His light. Trying to be close to Him and grow your relationship with Him.
That's right.
And the moments that speak out to you when you know that Christ is speaking out to you is that when you realize that your own individual thoughts are just how Jesus wants to speak through you. And I was having a conversation with Mr. Lewis before this stream about talking about medical specialties. There's a lot of specialties you can do in medicine. You can be a surgeon, general practitioner. You can be a specialty in a various organ like the kidneys or the lungs. And so for me, um, I found that I just was able to connect with patients who were neurology patients, so patients with diseases or disorders of the brain and the nerves. And that connects back to my brother. He had a stroke at age 18. I'm glad to say that he's still alive and he's thriving, following his own path, in his own journey and on the profession towards medical school. But I just noticed that talking to patients in neurology spoke out to me a lot. Um, and that's just a moment where I was like, I don't know what's going on, but I feel like I can listen to these patients and I can hear them out and I can get this, I can hear their story and
Mhm.
respond to them appropriately and just be there for them. I had an interaction with this one patient who had a stroke, and he used to be a Boston marathon runner. So qualified,
okay.
yeah. So
Mhm.
he, up until that point where I met him, he had never told his doctors about how big marathon running was in his life. And having a stroke
Oh,
that debilitates you and
wow.
strips you of your physical ability. I mean, it was unaddressed, and he comes from that age where like a man doesn't talk about those like when he's
Right.
feeling depressed or whatnot.
Right.
But he actually cried with me, and because I basically was just able to hear him out and somehow get the story out, even though he has aphasia, which is difficulty with speaking. Um, so I think in that moment, that's when I heard Christ speak to me, just being able to hear him. It wasn't me listening to him. It was, honestly, I felt like it was something otherworldly took me over and was
Right.
able to hear his story and
Right.
procure that story out of him because he has aphasia. He can't speak properly. So how was
Right.
I able to hear that?
That's right.
He can't even form the words of Boston Marathon. How did I know?
Right.
Um, that was amazing. And that, you think about that, that's listening. That's music in its essence,
That's
right?
right.
That's just
Mhm.
listen, like call and response,
Mhm.
basically. Um,
And now that the way I like to see it is that even just that story, that one story, and well, you'll have millions of them,
yes.
but just that one story is something you take on stage with you when you perform.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
That's if I wanted to, that could be a song right there. That
that's
could
right.
be a
That's
song
right.
that I put on an album.
That's right.
But I think even more importantly, that's a translation of how the bandstand comes into life.
That's right.
I I get complimented by a bunch of patients, and I don't mean to stroke my own ego or anything, but I just think that one skill that I was able to develop through music is my ability to listen to patients.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I'm heading more towards more of a medicine path versus surgery.
Mhm.
Medicine doesn't deal with operations and procedures in a hospital like
Right.
surgeons do, although both are related to trumpet playing and music in general.
Sure.
But I think the listening
That's what
portion,
Simple says. Simple says the medics and the trumpet goes just well together. Besides of being a trumpet
oh, there are
pedagogue,
pharmacists
I'm
as well.
a pharmacist as well. Chris, how important do you consider knowing the music theory compared to playing?
Yes. I think David also asked. I'm at San Antonio for medical school, David. So we just merged with UTSA. I just wanted that's a quick answer.
Sure.
But it's UT Health San Antonio. But yeah, so for SEPO, I Dr. Mr. Lewis and I talked a lot about. I also have a Dr. Lewis who's an OB guy, so I've worked with her. She's one of my mentors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But Mr. Lewis and I talked about music theory, but we didn't really. When we practice improv, we didn't really stress upon it too.
The only time I talk about music theory is when it comes up in what we're doing.
Yeah, and
so I don't believe. I think a lot of times that when we try to study theory first, that's the cart before the horse.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's better to dig in and then pull back and say, oh, that's this, that's that. I would much rather have it like that.
I think that order is really important. I think attaching yourself to something that you like hearing and then taking a step back and seeing why it works, that's where the theory applies.
Yeah.
So when we're going through Mr. Lewis's jazz kind of program, I guess you'd call it, we start learning blues first. Or we learn a bunch of tunes, and then we get into the blues.
Yeah, so blues is for the beginner stuff. Blues is last.
Blues is last. Yeah.
And then you took it past that.
We went to rhythm changes.
Well, yeah, all of that stuff after that.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, so you could say blues is first because that's the last one in the introduction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because all the tunes prior are just working on being able to recognize tonalization. So that's music theory. I mean, I guess you could call it music theory because it's learning how to play in the key center, but really it was just teaching me how to hear.
Right.
So I don't, when I think about improvising, whenever I think about the theory, like, oh, let me try to play that sharp 11 right here, it doesn't come out well. I remember I brought in a solo to you. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Woody Shaw, but fantastic trumpet player. I think that's the first thing I played for you when I was coming in for a consultation for lessons. There's this one lick that I really love on his solo on There Will Never Be Another You. And he plays this little kind of tritone thing. I didn't know it was a tritone, like substitution on a 2-5-1. I just really liked it. And I brought it in and you had me work a bunch of different ideas on it, but I don't think you even brought up the fact that it was a tritone substitution. And then when we were playing the blues, you just said, play it where you feel like it sounds good. And I learned that if I played it in the fourth bar leading up into bar 5, where you switch to the 4 chord, that sounds good. But I don't think that in my head when I play it. I just, and I don't even think about trying to play that lick either. That's also something that we don't believe in. If you absorb that sound, it could come out in your playing, it could not. But I think music theory comes in to where I can name that certain lick. I'll just be like, oh, that was a tritone lick from Woody Shaw, but not much else. Just so I can give it a name and categorize it. But I don't search in my head while I'm playing a solo. Okay.
So how about beforehand? Do you dig into theory stuff in and of itself?
There was a couple moments during the time after high school, after our lessons, where I would kind of look into theory, but the thing is that it just doesn't come out in the most natural way where it sounds good. Honestly, it just doesn't sound good when I think like that. And I went to there's a high school here in Houston called the Performing Visual Arts High School, HSPVA, and so they teach theory too. So it's not like I don't know theory.
Of course,
I know my major, minor, diminished, half diminished chords and all of that. I know the extensions, but it just doesn't come out in playing when you think about it like that. It's better to hear something that you like, and if you want to categorize it in your head or write it down somewhere so you don't forget it, then you can say that this was a diminished line.
Chet Baker is famous for being not able to read music.
Is he was an ear player? Oh wow.
He played by ear.
Yeah. But he plays some hip stuff.
The fact that but my point is, if you can't read music, there's no music theory. Right? Mm-hmm. And so there you have an example of someone who is just playing by ear and playing all the same stuff that all the other guys are playing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's very important to point out is that it's the music theory in and of itself is not necessary. I think it's beneficial. It's just not necessary.
I think it's beneficial to communicate because then, you know, if
Right.
I mention a tritone,
That's
yeah.
right. That's right. So we can say the theory does give us vocabulary to speak to each other
for human language, but if you're playing on the bandstand, if someone plays something, you don't have to know it's a tritone lick to know how
not at all
to change your
In
comping.
fact, I have theories right now just because of how different my teaching is in the jazz stuff now compared to how they teach. I have theories now based on that difference that most people, even the guys that you're working with, even the most advanced ears, can't hear what you're playing. They can't hear it. What they can hear is if it sounds bad to them. Right?
Yeah.
And there's this old quote by Stravinsky. He says, if they like how you play, there's no explanation needed. But if they don't like how you play, then they're going to make you pay for it. They want you to explain exactly why they're not liking how you.
Yeah. Why'd you play that line? That doesn't work on that because you should not be playing the flat 3 right there. Yeah, that's a dominant chord. Why are you playing the major 7?
Right. So if this is my experience, right? If you play something they like, and they decide they want to do a transcription, they will make that transcription fit their ideology, musical ideology. Right? They will twist things around to say, well, here's a sharp 11, here's the flat 13, and this is a suspension, and they'll say all of that stuff, when in reality, you were just playing what sounded good to you.
Yeah. Like if you really thought that Freddie Hubbard was thinking about playing the flat 13, like, no, he's just trying to push the,
So, and this is also where the motifs come in. And I know you got at least a start with the motifs.
Yes.
Yeah. When you look at how the motifs work, and I see it now everywhere that I look.
Are they familiar with the motif?
Huh?
Are they familiar
with
the motivic
Yes, we've talked about the motifs. Okay. And I actually believe so. So when we look at a player like Clifford Brown was 100% motivic.
Yes.
As opposed to Freddie Hubbard. Freddie Hubbard, that's not a motif.
I was just listening to Red play, that little slur thing he does. It sounds hip. It sounds hip.
So I see Clifford Brown 100%, Freddie Hubbard more like 50 to 60%, because he does a lot of scales and runs and those aren't truly motivic. Like
the Red Clay, like intro is like that yeah. So like that versus, I know like one Clifford Brown, he loves that enclosure where he goes like, and George Payne, they kind of little turn right there. Yeah. I mean, both sound good. Yeah,
sure, of course. Well, none of this is ever meant to be a criticism. I love Freddie Hubbard's playing.
Oh yeah.
And in fact, when I play most of the time in public, it's the same. It's like 60% motivic, and then there's a whole bunch of other stuff.
Yes, you do.
Right? So it's not a criticism. It's not one is better than the other. Now, what's surprising to me is, I think Woody Shaw is 100% motivic.
Yeah, it doesn't sound, if your ear's not trained to hear the motif.
I think it's 100% motivic. It's just that his motifs are all original.
Yeah,
it's all chordal, all. But I do believe that it's the structure of it is, and in fact, this is where we have problems with the outside world, so to speak, with my method, right? Because the people who study Woody Shaw's playing have taken all of his stuff and turned it into patterns. but he's not playing patterns.
There's a couple of YouTubers out there who do.
That's right.
That's
their whole thing is they've boiled it down into a pattern, and now you're going to practice that pattern.
Yeah. And then they apply the scale degrees and then start applying music theory. But
that's right.
If you take a listen into late 70s, early 80s, Woody Shaw, like I think United and stuff like that, he plays the exact motif in the exact key it is.
That's what I'm talking about.
He just superimposes it on a different chord. It's like a completely different key center, but he just plays it because it sounds good.
Absolutely.
I think Woody the Woodpecker, it's like a rhythm changes kind of variation. It's like a 64 bar form. He plays the exact thing over every single part of the B section, and it's like it's not that doesn't work. That doesn't work there, music theory wise, but it sounds hip.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Let's see. David says, "Oh, Forge One channel. Let's welcome to our little chat." He says, "Precision is key.
Perception is key." Yeah.
Okay. Oh, perception, not precision. I'm sorry. There's my reading skills for you. David says, "We have talked about this in lessons, but does jazz have to swing?
What's your opinion on that?"
Modern jazz is often straight. Yeah, I wouldn't say it has. Okay, look, you know what? It depends on what you mean by swing. If it doesn't swing, it's not jazz, but that's not what we're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if we're talking about the groove,
jazz has a groove,
then it doesn't have to have a swing feel. However, I got a compliment. I used to teach at the school he used to go to. In the 90s, I taught from 91 to 97. And at HSPVA, the High School for Performing and Visual Arts. Mm-hmm. And you know how I post every year? I post the all-state music online on YouTube, and that actually started with my job at HSPVA. We would have a mini recording session at the beginning of each year, and my boss Bob Morgan would have me record the music so that the kids could listen to it and emulate it as much as possible. Well, there was a Latin etude that when I finished recording, he goes, he was amazed. He says, "How do you play with such heavy swing on a straight 8 note?"
Latin feel.
So swing is not just the rhythm of the note. Ba ba da ba da ba da ba da. You can have straight 8 notes and still swing your butt off. Okay? So, and it has to do. Remember what constitutes as meter. Meter is not just well, let me just say what meter is instead of saying what it's not. Meter is a combination of the division of the beat and what parts of the beat get strong emphasis and weak emphasis. That's what creates a meter. It can get a lot more complex than that, but that's where when we talk about meter, and by the way, swing is a meter. And so if you include in these straight 8 notes certain emphases and what's the opposite of an emphasis, like ghosting or whatever. If you include that, then your 8 notes can swing really, really hard without actually having a swing rhythm. So that swing rhythm is not even really part of swing, in my opinion. And I actually think it's a travesty, really. There's a lot of stuff that people teach that I don't like. And one of those things is that swing is a triplet rhythm.
Yeah, it's Well, you can't have that because let's say you're running Donna Lee at 220 BPM. They are, they're playing basically straight. Charlie
That's
Parker
right.
and Miles
That's
Davis
right.
on that record are playing basically straight. It's
Straight eighth notes, but they're still swinging.
they're still
their butts
swinging.
off.
Yeah, they're swinging so hard. Um, David asked, "What is an example of groove versus swing?" I think that's a great example of they're grooving really hard. That's what when we're saying, "Oh, they're swinging."
Yes, so I would say that groove is another word for meter. And swing is just a type of groove, right? So you can have a Latin meter. That's now what's the difference between Latin and swing? Latin almost always conforms to the clave, so that your emphases are going to be, and that's almost always. It's a 2-bar rhythm, and it has to do with how we emphasize the notes. Can I demonstrate? Yeah, you know what? Let me get my horn.
Thanks for asking. I want to hear him play. But I mean, that record, the Donna Lee, I mean, they're swinging. Yeah, I think that's a great example too.
So, let me pick a head. So I'm going to play, I don't even know what the right note is. Oh, let's not do that one. Okay, you know what? I'm going to play one of my favorite. Can you hear the emphasis that I'm putting in certain spots? We've talked about this before. There's people that would play. Let me give you an example of when that emphasis is not there. Believe it or not, that's how kids are being taught to play today. They're actually told not to do what I did on the first time. Can you hear the difference between the two? The first one actually sounds like something. You're actually speaking it. And the second one had nothing. No emphasis anywhere. All of the notes are the same. And you know what? I like to say, because those ups and downs, let me tell you the whole story. Back when I lived in El Paso, the main maestro, the guy that conducted the symphony and did conducting classes at school and all that stuff, I was in an opera rehearsal with him. And he stopped the orchestra and he says, every piece of music has its own character, its own personality. And you don't do that character justice until you bring it to life. The whole point was to bring the music to life, right? And I like to take that one step farther. If you don't have these emphasized notes and de-emphasized notes and phrasing and all that stuff, all of that is sort of like a heartbeat. And when you don't have any of that, none of the emphases, none of the phrasing, nothing that goes up and down, and it's just like that, that's what we call flatline, right? Yeah. It's dead. And I've said that before here on the channel before. If you don't have those ups and downs, the music is dead.
Yeah.
It's dead. And so to me, now what's the difference between 1 meter and another one? There's no such thing as any meter that doesn't have ups and downs. What changes when you change the meter is that those ups and downs move inside the measure, right? So where you might have, like this one piece that I just played for you, it's a cumbia, but it's one of those more modern cumbias where it's got the clave inside of it. So right? I can't do that and clap at the same time. But you get my point, right? The emphasis is in a different place. So there is a style of swing that we would call swing, where the eighth notes are straight, and it's called ECM, I believe. ECM.
I heard about that. Hold on. What?
So ECM is a jazz record label, and under that jazz record label, almost all the songs had straight eighth notes.
What does ECM stand for? Is it?
Oh, I don't know.
Was it electronic Concord? No, it's not Concord, is it?
They might have gotten bought out.
Okay, I'd have to go back.
So it's a style. Yeah. It's a very short style in the post-bop era. Like,
you thinking Herbie Hancock and them? Or?
Like, I don't think Herbie Hancock was on it, but he definitely was part of what inspired that movement. So it's post. It comes after all that Coltrane, Herbie Hancock version of Miles.
Okay.
It's after that. Okay. So let's see where we're at now. So Latin jazz, like bossa nova, is still jazz. Yes, I would say so. Yes. Jeffrey says, great stream today. Thanks, Chris and Eddie. You're welcome. We're out of time. Jeffrey says, Chris, how long have you studied with Eddie?
I studied with you for about 3 years, I think, from sophomore year of high school to senior year of high school. And then I stopped halfway into senior. So I think I'd say 2 years, 2.5 to be safe. But the lessons that I take from Mr. Lewis is still carrying them on today. So technically been a student of his for probably about like good like 10 years maybe. I would say so.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I wonder what albums are under ECM.
Oh, you'll recognize a bunch of them.
Okay, I'll go check that out, Jeffrey.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I just wanted to say, yeah, Mr. Lewis's lessons, they transcend music for me. I definitely think that the majority of the benefits I've reaped have come outside of our lessons. To be honest, I'd say 90% of the stuff that you told me did not stick until I got into a situation where it would. But yeah, I think I'd like to say it helped form me into the person I am today.
Excellent. Wonderful.
Oh, Pat Metheny or ECM.
Oh, was Pat Metheny ACM? I didn't know.
Okay.
Okay. So Jeffrey says you are a good student.
Thanks, Yay. Jeffrey. I hope so.
All right, guys, we should shut it down. Always, as always, thank you for hanging out. We can't have a Q&A session without you guys. So, and thanks, Chris, for coming.
Thanks for having me.
And God bless you guys. Have a great weekend. And we will have one next week, okay? All right, guys. We'll see you next time.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Yeah.